Hey guys, welcome back to another week of Snowfall News. We're continuing as always. Got 3 more stories for you guys, but today actually I have a little bit of extra. So I have a couple stories that didn't quite make the cut or were kind of getting reported on as soon as I was finishing my editing phase. So I'll talk about those. The first of which is, as you guys might have already known, there's a new Star Fox game being made. It's a remake. It's kind of a meme in the community that there's been multiples of those. If I recall correctly, 3. So, but, there's been a lot of controversy around it because it looks a little weird, looks a little different. I'm okay with it personally. I think it has potential. I think the story especially has a lot of potential. Star Fox can be kind of light on the story sometimes, or doesn't really know what it's doing. So this seems like it might have some interesting bits to it. The art style, I don't know yet. I'm okay with it, I think. Like, I'm kind of fine with it in a way, but I don't really know, how to look at full gameplay and if I'll have problems with it moving forward, but we'll see. The second one I want to touch on a bit too, as well, was Katsuhiro Harada making his own studio at SNK. So if you don't know, Harada is sort of the main man of Tekken at Bandai Namco. He's kind of the lead developer on it, the producer. It's kind of his baby. And it seems that, he left a little while ago, a few months ago. And suddenly, now it seems that he's not stopping development. He just switched companies. He's going under SNK, which is its own can of worms because SNK is owned by Saudi Arabia, or at least they have a majority share in that. So it's already they kind of had a bad taste in the mouth. A lot of fighting gamers, people in general, anyone who is not a big fan of the Saudi Arabian government. So I know that for a lot of Tekken fans and people for Harada, might be a bit disappointed at the fact that he's working there now. But at the same time, it seems that Harada is he seems a bit happier with the direction that he can take the company in under SNK. I don't know if at Bandai Namco he had any particular grievances, but from the way he was speaking about SNK and the company that he's making now, it seems like he might have more freedom about what he can do. But we'll see what he ends up making and the kind of difference it'll be. I'm looking forward to it. I don't know if he'll still do 3D games. There's no guarantee that he will. He might focus on, a 2D fighter. Maybe he'll just make a single player game. That's also a possibility for Harada. But whatever he does, I'm looking forward to seeing, what direction he takes it and where his art shows him. So, but yeah, I just want to touch on those 2 stories because those are not included in today's cap, but we'll go ahead and go right into the main ones, shall we? So, let's begin. First is Stop Killing Games has raised its banner for the next Battlefield. I definitely feel as if when it comes to gamers coming together to make headway into some kind of meaningful change in the industry, the best of all of them has probably been the Stop Killing Games movement. See, now I'll be the first to admit I was actually rather skeptical in the beginning over whether or not it would actually have any chance of working, but after numerous different controversies and key moments, it's managed to come out on top for me. For those who aren't aware, the initiative Stop Killing Games is primarily targeted at making sure games have the resources given to remain playable after the end of their service. It started originally over the Ubisoft title The Crew, in which the game required a constant internet connection to be playable, and when the servers shut down, players couldn't even start the game at all. Since then, they've made quite an incredible bit of progress. Even just last month, they managed to actually deliberate in the EU Congress, making a lot of their demands known. It's got quite a bit of momentum, and while I can't be as excited for it over here in America, due to it being highly Eurocentric, I can think it's an unequivocal net positive for gaming as a whole. It seems that the movement isn't going to stop at just making sure games are still playable at end of service, but also other problems in gaming too. On the website X, formerly known as Twitter, the founder of the movement, Scott Ross, had commented on another issue that's been infecting gaming: age verification. Quote, while too big for Stop Killing Games to tackle directly, SKG supports pushback against the age verification laws, which will make distros of Linux illegal in CA and have caused the game Urban Dead to be killed. This could potentially outlaw private servers. End quote. In his post, he linked to a thread going into further detail about why age verification has already caused certain games to no longer be available. One such game, Urban Dead, a browser game, had to be taken down due to its inability to enforce the stricter age verification laws required by the United Kingdom Online Safety Act. Legislators wanting to protect children online and enacting much harsher regulations on what sites are accessible has been a general movement online for quite some time now. But regarding gaming, it has been particularly strict. It wasn't but a few months ago now that Discord had gotten into widespread controversy over its face verification system that had intended effect of banning minors from accessing certain Discord servers and chats. More than likely, these kinds of restrictions are going to become more and more prominent as the safety of minors on the internet becomes more and more of a concern. It's no secret that games like Roblox or Fortnite have become hotspots for adults looking to take advantage of the larger player base of children that inhabits these games. And with more tools becoming available to verify age, government agencies have the means to actually take action too. Of course, that added protection comes at the cost of many things, including privacy. While Stop Killing Games is focused more on the avenue of games that fail to meet these regulations, just simply shutting down, there are real concerns over where the information you provide these services is going. Is it really being deleted? What about data leaks? Can you really trust companies with your facial and government ID data? For me personally, I would much rather put the responsibility of maintaining what your kids watch on the parent. But I can understand that you will never fully have control over what they're doing. That only makes it all the more important that you prepare them to make the right decisions for when that time comes. Without a doubt, this digital age is a stressful time for a parent, but I can't help but feel that a lot of government agencies are taking advantage of the fear to push agendas that can very easily lead down a slippery slope. Next, Sony is regretting their $3.6 billion purchase on Bungie. Just 4 years ago, numerous companies had been making rather big acquisitions in what seemed like an industry turning point. One of the companies caught in that acquisition was Bungie, which, even at the time, it seemed to be in a bit of a rough spot, and one that Sony seemed to want to turn around while bringing the company under its banner. The acquisition was a staggering $3.6 billion, already making it one of the biggest acquisitions in the industry if it wasn't dwarfed by the multitude of larger acquisitions of Activision Blizzard by Microsoft. While the Blizzard acquisition has been paying itself, for the most part, Sony hasn't exactly been quite as fortunate on their end. While at the time, Destiny had released one of its most successful expansions to date, it hasn't been able to quite keep up that same performance. Speaking anecdotally, at least, I have very rarely seen any Destiny player who has enjoyed the game since then, mostly complaining about the amount of questionable decisions made by Bungie and the increasingly hemorrhaging player counts the sci-fi shooter has been suffering. Recently, Bungie has also managed to release the newest game they've had in decades, Marathon, to very positive player and critic reception, but no concrete news on its sales performance. Some have reported that it hasn't been able to stay within the top sellers for multiple weeks, leading to worries about its sales. Of course, Marathon was probably never going to be able to achieve the same level of success that Destiny 2 has had for Sony, and there's very little chance that that will ever change. Combined with these two factors, it isn't exactly been the biggest breadwinner for a deal that already has been going sour. Sony has since announced an impairment cost of $560 million against Bungie for the fourth fiscal quarter in 2025. And taking into account the losses from this quarter in 2026, has more than likely brought the cost of their losses up to $765 million. Perhaps partly what makes it even worse is that Bungie has already suffered a number of different layoffs on account of making the acquisition itself more profitable, more than likely only making the devs that still remain in the studio all the more nervous, knowing that they were willing to make those kind of decisions to justify their purchases. It's certainly a stressful position to be put in for what was known as one of the premier studios, making games for Sony and PlayStation. I could imagine that, looking forward, they'll really have to try and decide what direction they want to go in. But more than likely, Sony will continue to try and push them in the direction of live service titles, as that's been largely the MO of the console maker in the past, trying to find that one live service golden goose that will get them in the scene. Lastly, Forza Horizon 6 leaks are circulating. If there's been any bigger threat in this modern age of gaming, it's been the ever-present risk of massive and crippling leaks. And it's not just any leaks either, although those are always annoying. It's leaks of the entire game. It has become shockingly frequent of late, and Forza Horizon 6 has become the latest victim in this trend. Although, unlike a lot of those, this one seems to have been the result of a mishap on Microsoft's part, who uploaded the game to Steam just a tad bit too early. It was then taken down with swiftness, but then it was already too late. Much of the damage had been done, and the copies had spread to the interwebs. While in the beginning, it was common for leaks to be things like project getting revealed early, or DLC having an image leaked. Sometimes it was release dates, or dev cycles, but it's gotten more and more thorough. I can't help but remember when something similar to this happened with Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, where the game was available for emulation, or a mere recent crisis that, although not directly related to the gaming industry, was just as egregious in the form of Avatar: The Last Airbender, the movie. One that hadn't even been announced yet, but was fully available for watching. I actually saw that as it happened live. I was strolling on Twitter, and I just saw the whole movie on my timeline. It was crazy. You could just click on it and watch the whole thing. I already knew the whole atmosphere around leaks has changed when I saw that. Anyway, a lot of companies these days are really trying to prepare and adapt to this changing landscape, where information spreads quick, and it's nearly impossible to really make sure that you filled up all your gaps. I know that in Nintendo's case, there are rumors that they've actually been releasing sort of fake leaks to track down who's letting information go. I'm trying to locate some of the more, infamous insiders who break NDA, and that might seem excessive to a lot of people, but for games that profit over the hype cycle and have very exact marketing schedules, a leak can really make it all go under. Humorously, though, when it comes to Forza Horizon 6, they seem to at least be taking it pretty well. They threatened anyone who was playing the game early on the 7 Seas with an IP ban of over 7,000 years. So, if you're really tempted and, you want to stay in the good graces of the Forza Horizon 6 devs, maybe you should just wait a little bit longer. Who knows? But anyway, that's it for this week, guys. I hope you enjoyed these stories yet again, and we'll be back again next week with more. Bye, guys.